The King's Avatar, Chapter 1629. The Match Point Outside the Equilibrium. Audio source, Wuxia World Audiobook.com. Chapter 1629. The Match Point Outside the Equilibrium. Translator, Noam Yummy. Editor, Noam Yummy. Heat-seeking missile. Zhang Boteo heard the sound of the missile whistling through the air, but he wasn't able to have empty waves dodge while using nebula wave slash. The heat-seeking missile's area of effect wasn't something that could be evaded by just twisting around. To dodge it, he would need to move away by a considerable distance. Dodge, or continue with nebula wave slash. He could only choose one. There was still time for him to dodge, but it would interrupt his nebula wave slash. If he continued with nebula wave slash, he wasn't certain he would succeed. If he didn't, everything would be lost. What should he do? The thought flashed through everyone's mind. On the stage, Zhang Boteo's empty waves didn't budge. He continued to pour magic into his divine chains. He didn't hesitate. He chose nebula wave slash. Will he succeed? The missile fell. Empty Wave swung his sword, completing the last of nebula wave slash. Boom! A mushroom cloud sprouted. The powerful shockwave pushed away the impacted trash. Empty Waves was in the center of the explosion, which launched him into the air. Nebula wave slash. Had it been interrupted? No, it hadn't. The instant the mushroom cloud set off, the trash hit by nebula wave slash suddenly let out a glimmer of light. The magic waves spread out, lifting the pile of trash, breaking it apart like a shattered magic cube. Cloud Piercer and Lord Grimm suddenly appeared in everyone's view. Cloud Piercer was exempt from nebula wave slash's damage, but not the shockwave from heat-seeking missile. Lord Grimm wasn't affected by heat-seeking missile, but the nebula wave slash sent him flying into the air. 3 characters had been affected by the attacks. The only one unaffected was Suma Chung's Dancing Rain, who continued to provide artillery support. The previous assistance from Lord Grimm became the greatest starting point for her. Explosions revolved around Cloud Piercer. Suma Chung was still focusing Cloud Piercer. However, Zhou Zikai was no longer trapped and wouldn't let the long-ranged gunfire hit him so easily. With a smooth, quick recover, Cloud Piercer rolled and got up from the scattered pile of trash. His arms were crossed against his chest, his 2 guns shooting towards both Lord Grimm and Dancing Rain. His technique was beautiful to see, but because he was attacking 2 separate targets, his firepower towards each of them was cut by half. To pro players, it wouldn't be any threat to them. Both Yi Shu and Suma Chung would have no problems dealing with it. But through these attacks, Zhou Zikai was able to find his footing again. Zhang Boteo seized the opportunity to stabilize Empty Waves. His attacks wouldn't be able to threaten Dancing Rain at this distance. Lord Grimm was his only possible attack target at the moment. Wave slash after wave slash was thrown at him. Both sides were attacking and defending back and forth. Their battle was as brilliant as ever. One side was Samsara's Zhouzhang duo that had won 2 championship titles together. The other was the Yi Su duo that had won Best Partners 4 years in a row, yet had never lifted the championship trophy together. The 2 greatest duos in the alliance didn't disappoint. Each high point was replaced by another. But no matter how brilliant their battle was, the 2 sides were evenly matched. There wouldn't be any breakthroughs coming from this side. This 2v2 wouldn't be decided so quickly. What was the match point? Pan Lin and Li Yibo analyzed this issue. The director changed the camera angle according to their discussion. The live crowd was undoubtedly having the time of their lives. Not only did they have the projection technology showing them the overall situation, the numerous screens in the stadium displayed all the little details. Because of this, they didn't have the same focus as the viewers watching in front of their TV or computer. While these viewers were watching the battle between Zhou Zikai, Zhang Boteo, Yi Shu, and Suma Chung, they didn't have much information on any other players. Would Sun Zhang's One Autumn Leaf be able to catch in Wen Yi's little cold hands? When would Samsara's other two players arrive to help their teammates in the trash room? Since most of the live audience were Samsara fans, they particularly concerned about these questions. Lu Boyuan, Fang Minghua. Although these two hadn't yet arrived at the trash room, they knew what was happening there. With multiple battles taking place separately, the players need to constantly update each other on their situation. Using that information, they could make adjustments accordingly. It was necessary. As a result, whether it during the 3v1, or when Chao Yifan and Wen Yi and Sima Chung disrupted their plans, the two had a general understanding of the situation through the team chat. They had to go help, of course. The viewers were also waiting for the moment they arrived, but Fang Rui and his Boundless Sea became their biggest hindrance. Not long after sending off Sima Chung's Dancing Rain, he found a place to ambush Lu Boyuan and Fang Minghua. Practically the moment Sima Chung's Dancing Rain rushed into the trash room and started providing support, Lu Boyuan and Fang Minghua reached there. They just happened to see Zhang Boteo's report concerning Sima Chung. There was no mention of Fang Rui. This was the issue that the two immediately noticed from the report. Communication between the team members need to be immediate and accurate. If Zhang Boteo didn't see Fang Rui's Boundless Sea, then he would mention him. If he didn't mention him, then he hadn't seen him. But the two didn't see Boundless Sea either, so they immediately sent back the information. They were aware of the terrain in the trash room and of Fang Rui's dirtiness. Zhang Boteo's message only said that they hadn't seen Boundless Sea, but it didn't mean that he definitely wasn't there. Happy's support had layers. It was very possible that Fang Rui didn't immediately appear after entering, instead waiting for an opportunity to make the decisive blow. Just when they sent the information on Fang Rui ambushed them. The two hastily updated their information on Fang Rui, correcting their previous report. This was extremely important. An incorrect report could lead to the players on that side making an error in judgment. Then, the 2v1 unfolded. No one felt like the situation was too serious. Fang Rui staying behind to ambush them was likely just to stall for a bit of time. Seeing how the ambush spot and trash room wasn't far apart, it didn't seem like it would cause any major complications. After all, Samsara could just have Lu Boyuan tangle with Fang Rui, while Fang Minghua's Clara continued forward. It would make the ambush completely meaningless. The theory was very simple, but the problem was that it didn't happen. Fang Rui's target was very obvious, Fang Minghua's cleric, Laughing Song. Boundless Sea let them run past him a bit and then he quietly sneaked up behind them and used Cloud Grasping Fist. Fang Rui had underestimated their caution. They didn't forget to constantly look around. Fang Minghua turned his head and noticed Boundless Sea. He immediately had Laughing Song dodge. Lu Boyuan noticed the change and was even more resolute. WuxiaWorldAudio.com. He directly put himself in front of Laughing Song. They had considered the possibility that Fang Rui had entered the trash room but hadn't appeared yet, but they had also considered the possibility that he was on the outside waiting to ambush them. Because of Fang Rui's dirtiness, it was hard to guess. As for the latter possibility, they had their own plans ready. As soon as they saw Boundless Sea, Lu Boyuan had Chaotic Cloudy Mountain put himself in front. Fang Minghua didn't hesitate. Laughing Song continued to move to leave Lu Boyuan to deal with Fang Rui. Where are you running? The public chat had been quiet the entire time up until Fang Rui made his move. A message popped up. Fang Minghua obviously wasn't going to actually stop running just because Fang Rui told him to stop. Fang Rui's message did nothing to the people facing him right now. It was more to distract the players on the other end who didn't know what the situation was. As for whether or not it actually distracted them, Fang Rui didn't care. Cloud Grasping Fist grabbed Lu Boyuan's Chaotic Cloudy Mountain, locking him down. Fang Rui obviously wasn't going to grab the grappler over to himself. That would be suicide. Cloud Grasping Fist was cancelled. Boundless Sea rushed forward. He lowered his body, immediately giving a sense of dirty play. Lu Boyuan's chaotic cloudy mountain moved forward to intercept him. The crouching figure in front of him was truly quite irksome. Feng Rui's dirty movements had proved to be effective. Everyone acknowledged that his movements were quite logical. By making himself smaller, he was making it harder for the opponent to hit him. This sort of method wasn't only used by Feng Rui. However, whenever Feng Rui did it, apart from looking dirty, no one knew how else to describe it. As soon as anything touched his hands, it would stink of rotten meat. Lu Boyuan looked at the opponent in front of him and had no choice but to adjust chaotic cloudy mountain's stance. Usually, he could just use his hands to grab the opponent's shoulders and start wrestling with him. But because Boundless Sea had lowered himself, he would have to make a slightly wider movement, making it different than against a normal opponent. Charge. Lu Boyuan chose to take the initiative to attack in an attempt to proactively take control of the battle. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain bent down, his two arms hanging in front of him like a big gorilla. This stance would make it easier for him to grab Boundless Sea. The distance between the two sides quickly pulled closer. Lu Boyuan watched Boundless Sea's hands carefully. If there was even the slightest movement, "It's coming." Boundless Sea suddenly hid his hands. Lu Boyuan knew an attack was coming. Chi Bullet. An attack shot at Chaotic Cloudy Mountain's face. All Lu Boyuan could see was a bright light in front of him, blocking his view, an old trick. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain tilted his head slightly, and he could see again. His two arms spread out, ready to wrap around Boundless Sea. But then, he saw Boundless Sea twist around to dodge to the side. Lu Boyuan had expected it though, and adjusted himself accordingly. How fast! Suddenly, Boundless Sea accelerated and whistled past Chaotic Cloudy Mountain's clutches. Cloud Wind Body, End Chapter.
The King's Avatar, Chapter 1630. Grab That Healer. Audio source, WuxiaWorldAudiobook.com. Chapter 1630, Grab That Healer. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. Cloud Wind Body was a skill that buffed the user's senses. It gave the user greater control over Qi and allowed the user to sense their targets with Qi. Boundless Sea's sudden acceleration wasn't a result of Cloud Wind Body, but rather a different skill, Qi Flowing Cloud. Qi Flowing Cloud increased the Qi Master's speed in every way: movement speed, attack speed, cast time, and so on. Feng Rui's Boundless Sea had two buffs stacked on top of each other, Cloud Wind Body and Qi Flowing Cloud. As a result, he sped up and had greater control over his increased speed. He just barely brushed past Chaotic Cloudy Mountain's fingertips, narrowly escaping from the danger. However, with this dodge, Chaotic Cloudy Mountain was instantly left behind him. Lu Boyuan knew that this spelled trouble. By the time Chaotic Cloudy Mountain turned around, Boundless Sea was already 2 body lengths away from him. 2 body lengths. This distance was painful to Lu Boyuan. Of the 24 classes, not including the 2 healers and the solely long-ranged attackers like launchers, every other class posed a threat at this distance, including strikers and brawlers. All of them had skills that could cover this distance. The only exceptions were Grappler. And now, Boundless Sea just had to be 2 body lengths away from him. With his currently buffed movements, Feng Rui had done this on purpose. He was putting himself on the edge of danger in order to be as efficient as possible. From start to finish, he had never regarded Lu Boyuan's Chaotic Cloudy Mountain as his opponent, but rather as an obstacle. Everything he had done was to get past this obstacle in the most efficient way possible. His true target was Laughing Song. It was as if Feng Rui had simply sprinted in a straight line. Fang Minghua hadn't expected that Feng Rui would be able to get past his protector, Lu Boyuan, so easily as if he were a ghost. Just like this, Boundless Sea made his way behind him. It was too late for Fang Minghua to think of a way to block him. Boundless Sea raised his hand and grabbed towards him. Fling! Laughing Song was thrown backwards. Lu Boyuan's chaotic cloudy mountain rushed back, but Boundless Sea rolled away, avoiding chaotic cloudy mountain's clutches. Boundless Sea got up and sprinted towards Laughing Song. Cloud grasping fist. Lu Boyuan knew that in terms of speed, he couldn't match the buffed Boundless Sea. Step by step, he fell behind. He might as well use the skill that he added to his weapon today in an attempt to pull Boundless Sea towards him. But Fang Rui was truly cunning. He had clearly been running towards Laughing Song, but midway through, he suddenly rolled. As he rolled, there would be an instant where he would be able to see behind him. In that instant, Lu Boyuan noticed the flow of qi in the air. Qi blade. It was too late for regrets. Lu Boyuan should have activated reinforced iron bones before using cloud grasping fist. He hadn't thought about it meticulously enough, and had been fooled by Fang Rui. The qi blade flew towards him. Cloud grasping fist would definitely be interrupted. Lu Boyuan could only cancel the skill and then dodge it. With no other options, he could only chase after Fang Rui. In just a few steps, Boundless Sea would reach Laughing Song, who had rolled and was getting up. Fang Minghua wasn't some nobody. Previously, he had been caught off guard because he didn't think Fang Rui would be able to get past Lu Boyuan so quickly. This time, he was prepared. When Laughing Song got up, a bright light shone from his cross, Angel's protection. The light spread out in a circle. Angel's might, a 360-degree halo of light that forced the target back, ignoring super armor. This paladin skill was the skill that Fang Minghua had chosen to put on his weapon. Once the skill animation came out, there was no chance of dodging or resisting it. Shields could counteract numerous skill effects, but the knockback from Angel's might was an exception. Boundless Sea could do nothing against it. With how close of a distance they were at, everyone didn't even think Fang Rui could react to it. However, the moment the Angel's might touched him, he quickly pushed forward with his palms. Cloud Pushing Palm. It was a low-level skill that dealt little damage, but it could pass through space to strike the target and had a knockback effect. The knockback effect was inversely proportional to the distance. The closer you were, the stronger the knockback. When Boundless Sea used Cloud Pushing Palm, Angel's might swept over him, forcing him back. The Cloud Pushing Palm had worked. As the light spread out from Laughing Song's Angel's might, his body slid back. The knockback from Angel's might was far stronger than that of Cloud Pushing Palm. However, Laughing Song's Angel's might was only level 1, so it didn't push him too far. The bigger problem was that behind Boundless Sea was Chaotic Cloudy Mountain. If he was grabbed, even if it was just once, then there was no hope in him pinning down Laughing Song any longer. Even the average viewer knew it, let alone the players on stage. The moment Angel's might came out, Lu Boyuan immediately prepared himself, staring intently at Boundless Sea. As Boundless Sea was pushed back, he sunk down. He was planning on putting out a dirty stance, so he could dodge the moment he could move again. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain sprinted over, lowering his center of gravity as well. But to his surprise, Boundless Sea kept sinking down. His two hands were about to touch the ground. Was he planning on running on all fours? Just when this thought flashed by Lu Boyuan's head, Boundless Sea's two hands really did hit the ground. But Boundless Sea was already within his reach. The Angel's might was still pushing him back. It was too late to dodge, no. Fling. Lu Boyuan didn't use any high-level skills. He simply planned on using this low-level grab skill to throw Boundless Sea far away from Laughing Song, and the problem would be solved. Chaotic Cloudy Mountains grabbed towards him, but the distance between him and Boundless Sea was getting farther and farther. Boundless Sea was getting lower and lower. How could he be getting farther and farther? Fang Rui dodging downwards had been within Lu Boyuan's calculations. Right now, it wasn't just that Boundless Sea was dropping lower and lower. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain was rising higher and higher. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain was airborne. Boundless Sea pressed his hands on the ground, not so that he could crawl away on his forelimbs, but to use the Chi Master skill, Landmine Quake. It was an offensive skill, but the way Fang Rui did it made everyone forget that it was one. They thought he was pretending to be some sort of stupid brute. Nevertheless, in the end, he was able to get off a sneak attack. The viewers didn't know what to say. Those who hadn't realized that it was a landmine quake were angrily cursing at Fang Rui's despicableness. Those who had somehow realized it were cursing at Lu Boyuan for being so stupid. In any case, Lu Boyuan had been fooled. WuxiaWorldAudio.com. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain shot into the air. This was the key part. Boundless Sea went into a roll, and using the knockback from Angel's Might, he rolled right under Chaotic Cloudy Mountain. By the time he got up, Angel's Might had ended. Boundless Sea pushed out with his palms, shooting a sky-piercing strike at the airborne Chaotic Cloudy Mountain. Lu Boyuan's Chaotic Cloudy Mountain had failed to grab Fang Rui's Boundless Sea. On the contrary, his Chaotic Cloudy Mountain was blasted away by Boundless Sea. Amazing. Fang Rui was performing brilliantly. However, this was Samsara's home stadium. His spectacular play only received a bit of applause. Most of the viewers were anxious. If Fang Minghua and Lu Boyuan were stalled here, it would have a huge impact on the fight going on in the trash room. Even the broadcast had given up on showing the intense fight between the championship duo and the best partners. The chase between Sun Xiang's One Autumn Life and Wen Yi's One Autumn Leaf wasn't given much attention either because Little Cold Hands had found a helper, Qiao Yivan, and his one-inch Ash. Happy was trying to connect the two ongoing battles in the trash room to make it a 4v3. Because of this, Fang Rui's 1v2 against Fang Minghua and Lu Boyuan became the turning point. This was another star tactic. Previously, Happy had relied on Yishu's 1v3 to seize the upper hand. This time, it was through Fang Rui's 1v2. 1v2 and 1v3, it sounded like the 1v3 was more impressive, but the two situations were entirely different. Yishu had done a 1v3, but he didn't need to control the battle. His only objective was to survive under the combined assault from Samsara's three players. A 1v3 was a large enough advantage that it was enough to attract all of his opponent's attention. On the other hand, for Fang Rui's 1v2, he need to be the one with the initiative. He need to completely shut down Fang Minghua's Laughing Song and prevent him from leaving. He was facing one fewer player, but his task wasn't any easier than Yishu's 1v3. When people saw this battle, they weren't thinking about whether or not Fang Rui could keep Fang Minghua here, but rather for how long. The pro players were already placing bets from 10 seconds to a minute. People were constantly yelling out their bets, and money kept being passed around. 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, 25 seconds, 30 seconds. Bet after bet was lost. At first, placing down the bets was just for a bit of fun, but after 30 seconds, all the fun was lost. No one could pay attention to it anymore. They were completely absorbed by Fang Rui's playing. Lu Boyuan wasn't some nobody, and neither was Fang Minghua. Both of them were experienced and skilled players. They had been on the same team for many years as well, so they had built up quite the synergy. However, they weren't able to escape from Fang Rui's boundless sea. They weren't even able to get one of them to leave. The pro players were used to placing themselves in the shoes of the players on stage. They could only throw aside their amusement and watch in awe at Fang Rui's performance. End chapter. The King's Avatar. Chapter 1631 Perseverance Creating an Opportunity. Audio source, WuxaWorldAudiobook.com. Chapter 1631 Perseverance Creating an Opportunity. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. The broadcast, the pro players, and the more skilled viewers were focused on Fang Rui's battle with Lu Boyuan and Fang Minghua. Only the viewers who were mostly there to watch the flashy stuff continued to linger on the battle in the trash room. The battle taking place there was indeed incredible as well, and it could also decide the match. However, from an overall perspective, Fang Rui's suppression towards the two Samsara players was the true match point. The outcome of this match would likely depend on Fang Rui. And right now, he had vastly exceeded everyone's expectations. To think he would be able to hold them off in a 1v2 for so long. Samsara's two players were unexpectedly unable to get past him. Of course, if Lu Boyuan's chaotic Cloudy Mountain wanted to go, Fang Rui wouldn't mind at all. Fang Rui's goal was clear. He wanted to stall Fang Minghua's laughing song. If Lu Boyuan was going to give him trouble, then he would deal with him. If Lu Boyuan wanted to leave, then he would be more than happy to let him leave. Lu Boyuan had already abandoned Du Ming once. Whether it was from a strategic perspective or a mental one, he couldn't abandon Fang Minghua too. Samsara was already down one player in the team competition, and down a total of 3 points overall. This bastard. Lu Boyuan grit his teeth, trying to catch Boundless Sea. He just need to grab him once, and the deadlock would be over. Fang Minghua also understood this reasoning and did his best to help Lu Boyuan. But Fang Rui was just too crafty. He was bringing out his dirtiness to his limits. Boundless Sea weaved in and out, and there were plenty of times where he had brushed past chaotic Cloudy Mountain's fingers. The difference was just by a hair. This wasn't a matter of luck. Fang Rui was playing at his peak. It wasn't like he couldn't dodge more safely, but he was intentionally making the margin of error as small as possible. He had done this ever since chaotic Cloudy Mountain's first attempt to block him. From beginning to end, he had gotten past Lu Boyuan as efficiently as he could so that he could have more time to deal with Fang Minghua's laughing song. If not, there was no way he would have been able to hold down Samsara's two players for so long. This was why the pro players were so astonished. For such precise movements, once or twice, nothing too special. But for him to do it again and again for so long. How focused did he have to be? How tiring must it be? Yes, very tiring. Fang Rui soon could feel the fatigue hitting him, and he had only held him down for not even a minute. He had been mentally prepared, though. He knew how difficult it would be. In Yishu's 1v3, Yishu had used his overwhelming disadvantage to keep his opponent's attention on him. However, for his 1v2, he needed to take the initiative and proactively seize control of the battle. And he did it. So far, only the word perfect could describe what he had accomplished. He was exhausted, yet he was still constantly racking his brains to win control over his opponents. He had played to his limits in the group arena as well. After only a short rest, he had to play again in the team competition. Persevere to the end. Fang Rui knew how important his task was. If it was said that their foundation had been established through Yizhu's 1v3, then their final path to victory would be brought out by him. He had never thought of himself as this team's core. All he wanted was to perform well enough to match his pay and position. He knew that this was a moment that could likely decide the match. All he needed to do was to persevere. He didn't set himself a goal, counting down. Fang Rui only had one thought: persevere, persevere until the end. He would hold down these two players until the moment they won. Before that moment came, he would never relax. 1 minute, 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. Fang Rui persevered, playing absolutely perfectly. Not even the slightest opening could be seen in his plays. More and more people started shifting their attention to his side. More and more people were noticing the inconceivable. The pro players had forgotten about their bets long ago. 1 minute. That had been the upper limit of their bets. There had only been a single person who called out this time: Team Wind Howl's Ruin Yongbin. The second highest bet was 45 seconds. When Ruin Yongbin shouted out 1 minute, no one had taken him seriously. Everyone knew that Ruin Yongbin and Fang Rui were former teammates, and the two had a good relationship with each other. He had yelled out 1 minute as a way to cheer his friend on. But now, a minute. Wrong. Everyone had been wrong, very wrong. Even Fang Rui's friend, Ruin Yongbin, had underestimated Fang Rui's capabilities. 2.5 minutes. This was the current record, and it was still going. His perfect playing made it so that Fang Minghua's laughing song couldn't escape, which in turn made it so that Lu Boyuan's chaotic cloudy mountain couldn't leave. The battle in the trash room had lasted for 2.5 minutes too. It was no longer two separate battles. The two sides had grouped together, turning it into a 3v4. Samsara was at a numbers disadvantage, but these three top 10 players were nothing to scoff at. From the looks of it, they were actually the ones on the offensive. The three were using Little Cold Hands as their breakthrough point, constantly sending out attacks towards him. On Happy's side, Yizhu's Lord Grim had become Little Cold Hands' flower protector. He practically never moved more than an inch away from him. Su Mucheng and Qiao Yivan were on the side, providing him support. Fang Rui was playing out of his mind in the 1v2 to win Happy this 4v3, yet Happy wasn't able to turn this into an intense back and forth. In fact, they were the ones on the defensive. It was hard not to feel that it was a bit of a pity. However, the experts knew that although Happy was on the defensive, they weren't feeling burdened. Their defensive position was because they saw what the opponents wanted and were going along with them. Focusing the healer was a very standard strategy, but no team's healer had ever been so disgustingly focused like Happy's during the season. With so much experience facing this strategy, Happy was very proficient in these situations. What's more, they had put in great effort into practicing and studying how to take advantage of this weakness since their very beginnings. For other teams, when the enemy focused their healer, their conditioned reflex was to protect their healer. But for Happy, when the enemy focused their healer, their conditioned reflex was to look for opportunities to kill their opponents. This sort of intuition had become Happy's style. Even if they hadn't made any preparations before the match, if they ever came across this situation, Happy's players would instinctively look for ways to turn it around. Every team's protection over their healer was purely defensive. Only Happy was different. Their protection over their healer was extremely aggressive. WuxiaWorldAudio.com. Their healer had originally been their weakness, but as the season went and their weakness improved, Happy had also set up all sorts of barbs. You could target their weak point, then you wouldn't come out unscathed. More often than not, it would end up being your guillotine. It wasn't that Samsara didn't know this point. As their opponent in the finals, they had researched Happy thoroughly. However, their current situation was out of helplessness. They were attacking, Happy was defending. However, the health they were losing wasn't low. On the other hand, Happy had a healer healing them. After 2.5 minutes, the damage was building up. The three of them hadn't sent out this message just once. They were also very surprised to see that their support still hadn't arrived yet. The thought of Fang Rui stalling their two players for this long hadn't even crossed their minds. If they had known, they definitely wouldn't have fought in this way. They would have created an opportunity to get out of the trash room and reconvene with their other two players. But they didn't know, so they kept waiting. Half a minute, a minute and a half, 2.5 minutes. The inconceivable had happened. Fang Rui had held down Lu Boyuan and Fang Minghua for 2.5 minutes. At this point, the three of them had lost the possibility of turning this around. During these 2.5 minutes, it wouldn't have been impossible to have Lu Boyuan abandon Fang Minghua and go in to help the rest of his teammates. Or the three could have escaped from the trash room and made contact again with Fang Minghua and Lu Boyuan. However, turning points happened in an instant. After 2.5 minutes, the three of them couldn't keep up the same aggressive offense as before. They had no choice but to be more cautious about their characters' health. Who let them attack so unrestrained before? The reason that they had been so unrestrained was because they kept thinking that their support would arrive at any second. How could they have known that not a single sign of them would come even at this point? Rush out of the trash room now? The three looked at the health on their characters. If they gave in even a little, Happy's four would definitely counterattack with everything they had. During those 2.5 minutes, they could have forcefully made their way out. However, if they forced their way out now, they would definitely lose one or two people. Having already lost a player, Samsara was down by 3 points. Until the last moment, Samsara didn't want to take the risk of losing another. No matter how they looked at it, hoping for the 2v1 over there to have a breakthrough was more reliable than the three of them forcing their way out. The 3-minute mark was approaching. In the end, Samsara chose to wait. The spectating pro players didn't feel like Samsara was doing anything wrong. Right now, everything was because of Fang Rui, because of his miracle. At the beginning, everyone just thought that Fang Rui's stalling would just help Happy win some time and widen the lead a bit more. But now, Fang Rui's stalling had become the deciding point of this match. How much longer could Fang Rui hold on for? If Lu Boyuan and Fang Minghua successfully broke through right now and successfully got to their teammates, Happy would have a lead, but not a win. The trade-off would truly be somewhat disappointing. Time continued to pass. Everyone's attention continued to be focused on Boundless Sea's battle with Samsara's two players. Angel's Might. Suddenly, Laughing Song's cross let out a brilliant light. Fang Rui had held down the two of them long enough for Laughing Song's Angel's Might to come off cooldown. End chapter.